hopefully take care of these folks, but also competing with a pressure to not complain, to not show weakness. You know, and PTSD in particular, PTSD is sort of like an overrunning, a rewiring of this autonomic nervous system. You know, it's not something that somebody can choose to have or not. And yet I think there's a huge, at least unconscious culture whereby soldiers avoid seeing themselves as having that sort of syndrome, and certainly avoid seeking help, reporting it to their chain of command. And so lots of folks get shunted back who maybe have never told anybody, and there may be pressure on folks to go back into service. Maybe, you know, here's some medication, enough to get you functioning and back and support your unit. And again, if their fellows in their unit are depending on that, that's a very strong ethic that I respect immensely. You know, they're going back to preserve the safety of their colleagues, of their teammates.
But you're being treated symptomatically instead of solving the problem.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I guess I'll say it this way too. Very striking to me as a clinician working with these younger soldiers, many of whom are about the age of my children, to have them feel deeply, strongly about wanting to go back and complete the mission. I mean, most of the folks I've met, if you offer them a chance, they'd say, no, I'm going back. You know, I'm going to finish the job. And I think, oh, you know, don't do that. But who am I to tell them that? So there's a huge culture of the military for folks to get back in to help. And so, again, people are being re-traumatized, and I just, you know, I suspect, if anything, any numbers we see, this is not an official position of the VA, it's my opinion, if anything, they're likely to underrepresent what we're ultimately going to see. Disproportionate rates among veterans of suicide and substance abuse. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I cited this, or maybe I hadn't included it, but the Department of Defense website shows, I think 100, I might have it here. Sorry, no. This time, I can't find it. I thought the number was 160 self-inflicted fatalities in theater. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that number is low. I think there's.
If you go back one slide, I think the number.
Was it there? There we go. Yeah, 160.
160. Yeah.
There appears to be a huge influence whereby, you know, most of the folks, well, even before this war, much of the PTSD that gets diagnosed long after. Sometimes years later. A lot of our OEF veterans don't have problems until they've been home 3, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. And so there are a lot of you know, domestic violence, alcohol abuse, legal issues, suicides happening after folks are back in country. And many of those, especially if they're invisible to law enforcement, if it doesn't look as though a crime has occurred, nobody does an autopsy, nobody searches for the cause more. So we suspect that there probably many more suicides, or maybe even deaths due to substance abuse, you know, indirectly related to mental health issues from service.
Didn't they develop a special VA mental health hotline for?
And yes, absolutely. In fact, it's 1-800-273-TALK. This runs out of our Canandaigua VA, 24 hours. It's nationwide. Been a very helpful service, and they've had a lot of action. This is this fits in with what I was saying. I don't know if you can see this, but I find this a compelling poster, and it says, it takes courage and strength of a soldier to ask for help. Really trying to kind of counteract that culture, make it easier, make it safer for servicemen and women to seek mental health and medical help.
There's not too many similarities between a war culture and a civilian culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think this is in here. Let me see. Oh, okay. This is a very cool thing. I don't know if you can read it here, and I'll just describe it to you. If you're interested, you may be able to find it on the internet. BattleMind is a program developed by a group out of Walter Reed for post-deployment support, and I love it. It's a very well done, as best I can tell. I mean, I'm not expert about those post-deployment issues, but basically, BattleMind is an acronym that sets out these different themes for each letter. But it basically teaches the soldiers coming back about how coping strategies that were absolutely essential to their survival in theater now set them up for trouble at home. So things like, I don't let anybody near my weapon. That's mine. My life depends on it. Well, now at home, you know, if I'm coming back to my wife who has paid the bills, you know, changed the oil in the car, taken charge of the entire household, has probably reorganized my workshop, and because she's been using the tools, I'm saying stay away from my stuff. That's not going to fly. You know, there's going to be an obvious conflict there. Or things just like driving fast and unpredictably is what saves your life in Iraq, not here. On and on. You know, keeping your emotions under wrap, not showing emotions, not showing fear. Important there, devastating here. So on and on. And it really emphasizes sort of a buddy system. You know, use a buddy that straight out of military culture, and I can throw in more as an emotional expression than anything else. I'm not a veteran, and I think when I first came to the VA, I mean, I did an internship in the VA, so I liked being there, but I don't think it was honestly out of a central mission to go serve veterans. But I'm very proud to be there, and I so much like being part of that culture because we take care of each other. It's and if I make a commitment to these folks, they so appreciate it. You know, we cover each other's back, and I really like that. It's sort of a mini collectivism that we don't often see in our society, and I think that's a smart thing about this. We use a buddy system, something that makes sense. So. I think, well, I don't know how effective that's been in practice. It just makes a lot of sense to me, a set of ideas that's used in helping people to adjust. Let me see what else is here. That's our pain initiatives. Well, this is interesting. One of my colleagues, who is in fact, get Darcy some press. It's this woman here. Who is a social worker when she's a civilian at our hospital, and I think is a nurse as a reservist. She's been deployed twice. Her husband has been deployed at least once. They have 4 kids, and they're typical. And Darcy did a wonderful, actually a series of presentations for all of us at the hospital about the effects of deployment on families. Very, very striking, and imagine. So at that point, these are her data, 1.2 million active duty service members. Of them, 700,000 had spouses, and among the children, 40% were from birth to 5 years old. So imagine, and of course, you know, this is a young population of people in the military. They're going to have young children. But every time that person is deployed, we're breaking up a family. And typically, the way the deployment orders go, as I understand it, you're told you're being activated, but you don't know when. And they may wait months to finally get the deployment orders. And so I have to make arrangements. You know, tell my job that I'm leaving. Make arrangements for my kids. You know, maybe they're staying with grandma and grandpa. Maybe I don't know if they're going to another school district. I haven't had to deal with this. So all this huge turnover, and again, often with very young children, and then wait, and then now you have to go. And then I'm away for a year, 18 months, something like that, and come back. You know, sometimes coming back to kids who are, you know, a year and a half older. I mean, I've missed huge chunks of their life. Huge adjustments in making sense of family roles again when people come back. So that's a really valuable piece to understand, you know, how much deployment affects family. That's as much as I have to try to give you a sketch about our Iraq and Afghanistan